Welcome everyone to the Element series by Sonali's Cubo, and I'm here, the founder, Vajayanti Pugalia, welcoming you today. Today is awesome weather outside, and I have some amazing, tips and food actually to talk about with a personality who belongs to my city but is so global. And before I introduce any further about my very super chef who is joined with me today, Abhilasha Chandak. I would just want to say that other than being the mother of a son, the most probably the positive image of a woman in India is symbolized by Annapurna. Yes, the supplier of food who never says no. So, gathering, cooking, serving, and always putting the one in front of you is what makes her personality and is next to the kinship. But I often wonder what a modern woman thinks like. That she like to cook, or does she wants to cook? So that's one question which I'll be initiating to Abhilasha. But yes, I think the ancient art of winning a man's heart through cooking, which was once passed from generation to generation, I think I'm a little confused that whether this is dying with the advent of the modern independent woman. And do women nowadays think that feminism means that they have the right to put their spatula down and they don't have to actually bother about the oven? But you know what? To actually prove me wrong and actually defy all of this, I have this personality who is right there in front of us today, and I think she is taking the legacy, making her own legacy. After I speak about the eminent chefs from our country who are so globally famed, like maybe Tarla Dalal or Neeta Mehta, to Romy Gill, to Amrita Raichand, I have someone who belongs to my city and is fabulous. And what do I introduce Abhilasha Chandak is, first of all, let me say a hi to her, hear her, what should I say, tasty voice, also the yum voice. So Abhilasha, welcome to my show. Hi.
Thank you so much for a warm welcome and to put me on the league of all these amazing chefs. Some of them are my friends as well. And it's actually amazing to be out there and, be spoken about in the same league as all the people who I really admire.
Okay,
so that's
so you
wonderful.
want me to talk a little more about you and tell you why you're in the same league. So here it is, Abhilasha. You are one of the finalists of the MasterChef India Season 5. And more than that, you're the winner of the highest national culinary challenge. And you have actually trained chefs in Amsterdam, which I really need to know about. And you are like a brand logo, like a brand ambassador for so many, portals, which I would like to hear from you. You are a food stylist, you are a brand consultant, you are a recipe developer. Okay, when do you get the time to cook? I really don't know, but I'm shocked that you are so tiny and so sweet and so pretty. Are you as spicy and fiercey as your food also? So yes, that is something that I would really want to know about. But yes, I've read about you and the background from where you came, and then suddenly here is a girl who's entered MasterChef and suddenly starts her total different journey of her life and never looks back. So, yes, I would like you to begin today's conversation by telling me and everyone else here what incited you to, take up culinary art as, something that you want to invade your skills at, and how did it build?
There are two things to it. If I were to put it in a funny way, it is a byproduct of my ex-marriage.
Okay.
But if I were to, talk about it in a more candid way, and an honest answer would be that I'm born and brought up in a joint family, living with all the people whose lives are always surrounded around food, and everybody just likes to, talk about next, what are we going to eat? Khane mein kya banne wala hai? Next, khana breakfast kar liya, to lunch mein kya banne wala hai? Foodie families, how all Indian families, their life revolves around food. So that's something that got me interested in food. And there were a lot of Maharajis who used to cook in these big patilas in the house. And I used to always get fascinated by them and feel that, okay, it's quite interesting. Never really cooked when I was a kid, but grew up to be an academics person, pursued my MBA, did my thing. But I think once I entered the kitchen post I was, married, I think I never stepped out of the kitchen. It was my work profile, honestly. so so that's my story when it
So
comes
will
to,
you
like,
tell me that because you got married and most of the time you spent in the kitchen is something that drove you? So
my work started me to
I'm sure there must be more to it.
so I mean, as a homemaker, I think a lot of people would relate with me that they spend a lot of time in the kitchen. Rather, quarantine is the time when men are also spending time in the kitchen, but primarily, especially in small towns, women spend a lot of time in the kitchen. So
Absolutely.
that's how that was my first tryst with ingredients, new ingredients. And that's when I discovered that, okay, I like cooking. And I think it was I got serious about it after I divorced, actually. um, and I was like, okay, cooking was something that kept me sane. I think it can keep me sane even now, so let me just do it more professionally now. Also, by that time I had won the Hyatt Culinary Challenge, so the confidence level was like here. And but when you are going through your ups and downs in life, you're just finding your calling. So food was my calling, and MasterChef happened to me at the right time, I would say that.
So MasterChef happened, and then the Hyatt competition happened, and then I mean, like there was no turning back. But uh, with every challenge that you accepted, and as you said, it was a calling that you realized and you followed, like a pavement where you started probably carrying spatulas in your hand and walking through. What did you recognize about your surrounding, as in the fellow contestants? What kind of talent, or were there also more women who were like homemakers who were coming forward, or they were like from the culinary schools? What was the flavor that you found there?
To tell you, Vaijanti, the thing is that I was always a cook. I was always a home cook. I still am a glorified home cook. But having said that, I feel that a national television gives you that particular mileage. Uh, I think I got more attention after MasterChef, is what
Oh,
I can say.
definitely, yeah.
People start recognizing you, start relating with you, start respecting you after you kind of start achieving things in life. I was still doing the same cooking. I was still like, I was just cooking. I was just feeding with love, like I always used to do. And it just became more glorified then.
Yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
and about the co-contestants, all of them are super talented, and we know that it's a competition and only one person wins. But we were all made to feel like winners. We it was like a big family. We lived with each other for 5 6 months
Wow.
away from our families. So it kind of it has still kept us all so connected. And whenever we need, like, what happens when you become a master chef? You can't ask for recipes online because everybody expects you to know everything, but they don't realize that even the best of chefs don't know everything. They're still learning. So my
True.
co-contestants are my first people who I go to when we are discussing something, or when we're talking about food. We are connected all the time.
That's awesome. And if I have to ask you that as a food stylist, well, first of all, you have to explain me the term food stylist. And secondly, after you've done that, where do you contemplate Indian food? Because as you know, we Indians have a platter of, a palate which is diversified. So as a global artist of culinary cuisine, how would you contemplate Indian food? Because you have taken it at so many different places, I'm sure. So what can you tell us about that? And yes, what is a food stylist?
So we know that we eat with our eyes first. What
Yeah.
you see on the plate is what you eat. A food stylist is a person who just plates the food properly, not just like plating in a restaurant. But it's very important that even, in a commercial setup, it's very important that when you have, am I audible? Yeah,
Yes,
because
you
there
are.
I can see some network glitches. Okay, so the thing is that when we talk about, uh, just a second, let me switch
Sure,
to
sure,
some
sure.
other Wi-Fi.
Sure.
Yes, I'm switching to my phone's Wi-Fi. Some network glitch here. All right,
It
I
can
think.
be because of the weather
So
outside.
having said that, yeah, it's just the weather outside, which is good and bad at the same time.
Not a problem, but you are audible,
So
so it's fine. Yeah.
this is a person who would make sure that when a food is served, it's served to you in the right way. And also, food photography is something that has interested me for some time now, because I mean, whether you talk about any restaurant that you go to, you look at a menu, all those, all the online menus that we are looking at right now, we just don't look at the dishes and we, feel palatable. We look at those pictures and that's what gets you attracted. These pictures are what a food would create. And to answer the second part of your question, being the global person and how I see Indian cuisine, was that your question, right?
Yes.
And how we have a diversified palate. I think in the last 3 years, I have discovered around approximately like 15 odd countries that I've traveled to. It's only this year that I haven't traveled. And every country that I travel to, and when I tell them that I come from India, they are like, you are here to talk about, vegetarian, vegan food or your interest in those food. But your country itself has such a diversified food portfolio. And we go to India to learn and we bring our turmeric lattes from there. And I was like, yes, we have our haldi ka doodh, but we don't respect it.
Yes, we do. That is true.
So
We actually don't the haldi ka doodh and call it the
yeah,
turmeric latte.
yeah, and then I go to this nice cafe in London, and I'm like, can I get a turmeric latte? And I suddenly feel that my nani and dadi have been feeding this childhood. My mom really feeds me this, and I am like, I'm having it in another country just because it's glorified. So I think it's time we start respecting our own cuisine, and I think the more I travel outside, the more inwards I start looking,
That
because you realize that there's so much in your own country that you really don't need to, you might learn the techniques and the niche and all of that, but when it comes to Indian ingredients, I think our country is blessed.
that is true. Abhilasha, would you like to switch over the network one more time because you are like your reception is hanging a bit. Your voice is coming through, but the picture is hanging a bit. Or if you would like to change your place, if you feel that the internet connection is low at
Let
that
me
particular place.
try doing that. uh, Hang on, let me try. So my Wi-Fi here says that I am good.
All
This
right, I
will
think then it must be just the weather outside because I'm able to hear, everyone is able to hear us very well, but it's just that the reception of your vision is coming a little distorted. But
oh,
the voice is absolutely clear.
uh, I should try to shift a little, move around with my laptop and see if we can get a better network. Maybe here. I think we should be fine. Let's see. Is it better now?
Sorry, viewers, we are just trying to get you the best possible, interview and discussion with the celebrity chef Abhilasha. So just kindly, yeah, I think this is better. This is better.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, I think maybe you took a round in your back, so maybe
Yes, exactly. My network just wanted me to take a stroll.
not a problem. Let's just go ahead. So,
Yeah,
and I also wanted to ask you, like the second leg after what you just said, that it is we Indians, we sort of glorify our cuisine outside our country, and then we accept it in the form of like a turmeric latte, an example that you just gave. But my question to you is, what do you think is the reach of Indian cuisine? And how have you sort of, as a chef coming from India, have been able to, patronize it? Because I'm sure you are also very, as you've always talked about vegan food. And the other day also when I was speaking to you, you had a lot of stress about ingredients in India which are not being used, which happens to be our main topic of discussion today, which we are soon going to be, sort of giving the information to our viewers. So what I want to know is, how far do you think is the reach of Indian cuisine? And as a chef, how far have you been able to take it forward?
To begin with, I think the first workshop and where my culinary journey started in Amsterdam, I taught all the chefs there to make charts, to make the Bengali sandesh, and all of this. And they actually put it on their menu for a few days, and they just try to do the plating the French way, and they try to create those taste buds so that it's not super spicy, because uh, I mean, their systems are not so well designed to have spicy food, and so there are a few changes here and there to suit the local taste palates. I think Indian food is fabulous, and it is definitely very, very well accepted in European countries. Um, the other reason could be because they always travel to India for their yoga
Yeah.
and for their meditation. And you know how it's a whole package when we talk about Indian food, how we go back to our roots and we talk about being healthy, eating the sattvic food. And when somebody gets into the physical well-being mode, they start eating more Indian food. They start eating more simple food. When we say eat local, eat seasonal,
Yeah.
and eat these kind of foods. So then Indian food is something that just automatically just elevates the whole perception of people that, okay, Indian food is not just spicy. It's not just dal makhni and paneer. There's so much more to Indian food than just North Indian food.
True.
So
True.
I think whenever I'm traveling, there's always this exchange program that we do, that I teach my local dishes to the chef there, and I ask him to teach his dishes to me. So it's an exchange that we do, and works out for all of us.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, I also want to know, I asked you about the kind of, your contestants who were there when you were a contestant. Then time flew and you became a curator. You have curated competitions and events, for Prabhat Khabar to the Monsoon Carnival to Gujarat clubs and the Master Chefs. So much you've done in terms of curating and bringing forward new talent. Do you think there is a change in the thought processes of these participants, the likability of the food or any particular cuisine? Or do you think from the time that you started to explore food from then and the time that you started to curate, the mindset is the same? Or do you think there is a change there?
I think I see a major shift from because thanks to social media and thanks to all the information that is now readily available. When I started out as a cook, I think simple recipes were not available on the internet. But today, you want a recipe, you think of an ingredient, you just go type it on Google, YouTube, and you will be able to find it.
Yeah.
And I feel it's quite a blessing because uh, internet is a very good teacher, and it opens your horizons, it broadens your horizons. So I see that kind of a shift from 3 years ago when I was on MasterChef, actually 4 years ago. And now the current season, the last season, I saw some amazing talent, come up, and I saw that they are actually laying more emphasis on regional cuisine. While we would always think about, let's talk about European cuisine, let's talk about food from other countries, on other Southeast Asian countries, but now we're talking about Indian food, regional food. Every state every small district also has some specialities, and it's now getting highlighted. It's
No, I
beautiful to
agree with
see.
you, because the last competition which I organized, the Think Local, Cook Global, and it was more the local food. I had more than 45 cuisines under one roof in that particular competition. But you are absolutely right. I had more the small district food which was highlighted, a small thing from a achar to a dip, which was fantabulous. And you are actually right. The mindset has actually become very receptive to regional food thanks to the connectivity through the internet, which brings me to this question before we actually start the main topic of today, which is all about embracing vegan food and also about the long lost ingredients which we don't at all use and so much under the pressure of using the foreign ones. So as a brand consultant, you're working with restaurants, you're working with hotels, and this question is very apt now, Abhilasha, because everyone is seeing a major recession in terms of the restaurant and the F&B industry because of the times that we are in right now. As a chef, as a brand consultant, working with hotels, restaurants, what do you see the fate of F&B industry in India because of the COVID times that we are in?
There are two aspects to it, Vedjanti. I mean, it's a very good question, very relevant question. The first is that we'll see a very high mortality rate, unfortunately. We will see a lot of our favorite restaurants shut down, not because it didn't serve good food, but
Yeah.
because the economy is under such tremendous pressure,
True.
and with rents and salaries and all of this that are so difficult to manage for especially somebody who's taken the leap of faith and put all their savings into this venture. It's very difficult for them to right now just sail through.
True.
We'll see a lot of restaurants close down, unfortunately. But I think with every darkness comes a ray of light. We will see newer restaurants coming up. We will see more transparency in how people are served food. It will be a more the existing restaurants and the new restaurants will take food more seriously, will
Yeah.
take hygiene more seriously, health more seriously. Junk food will obviously be there. We all need our junks and our cheat days, but I think healthy food will also get a lot of importance. And like Modi ji says, that go local, because now we don't have any other choice, but we'll start eating locally produced things, which is actually very healthy when you eat seasonal, when you eat local. So I think that's the kind of shift that I'm seeing post COVID in the restaurant industry. And what the restaurant industry really needs is, if I can say it in a like in a self-marketing way, I think they need good consultants now.
Yes, I'm
Because
absolutely agree with it, and there is no, shortfall in saying that, because yes, they do need a makeover. Then they do need a mediator between the people who are going to be eating, the guests, and the service providers, because the faith and the kind of brand value that you would be creating when endorsing yourself to a restaurant or a hotel is really going to make a difference. So we need chefs and influencers like you to come forward, because I'm sure if you ask me, I would want to dine at a place where you are endorsing it. So obviously, it's going to make a difference.
uh, I think it's really important now that we try to, people are now going to look for value for money propositions. At
Right.
least for the next few months, we will not want to, splurge. We would want to keep our resources, but we would still want to eat out. We're tired of cooking at home. We're tired of, having home cooked meals. There are some dishes that can't be made at home. They're very exhaustive procedures. So we would want to eat in our favorite restaurants for whatever reasons, not just for food, but also for the networking, for the experience that we have when we are eating out, the pampering that we feel when we are eating out. So having said that, that whole experience, the dining experience, is something that people are wanting to experience, and so they want to go out there. And it's only possible when we have a more hygienic procedure. The communication that is going out to people is more transparent. Our kitchens are more the chefs who are making food, we can see what they're making. This will become very relevant
Because
in
it
the
is very,
coming times.
as you said,
And
it's very
I think my
important
whole
to
emphasis
be transparent.
towards uh, I mean, to all my clients and to all the prospective people who ever come to me, I always tell them that have a clean heart before you start your business, and serve the same way you would serve with love, care, affection, like you would do at home. And only then your business will flourish like no other.
True, true. Awesome. That's so, so beautifully crafted. And now to move towards the main topic of today's discussion, which is when I asked you, Abhilasha, what should we talk about? And because there's so much that I can talk to you about, and I would like to share that information, that knowledge with the viewers. You were so excited to talk about vegan food. And it's so right and apt a time because definitely it builds up your immunity, and there's so much that can be done with vegan food. A lot of people call it boring, but I think today's discussion is all about how we can spice it up or mellow it down, but yet to each one's palate make it the best choice that we can. So yes, my first question to you, what is the importance of vegan food, and and do you think it is the right choice in the times that we are now?
uh, to first, just for the convenience of all our guests who are viewing, what is vegan food? So when you don't have meat products, animal products, or dairy products, which is also an animal product, any animal product, no eggs, then that particular diet is called vegan. And vegan is not just diet. Vegan is actually a lifestyle. You also remove all the other animal products that you use, whether it is your fancy looking, those purses that you use, which is leather, or whether it is using anything that has any skincare products that have been tested on animals, or any of that. So vegan is actually a lifestyle, and there are various reasons why a person would want to be vegan. Uh, Having said that, let me be very clear here that I am not vegan. Okay, I am trying to get there, but it's a journey, and I hope someday I reach there. But I feel that the more I read about it, the more my conviction becomes strong. Today, I will not get into the vegan lifestyle. I'll just stick to my domain, food, and I will talk about vegan food and some of the reasons why people would turn vegan. I think in India, half the population is anyway vegan. I mean, some of us are lactose intolerant. Some of us are vegan because of our religious issues. Our religion doesn't allow us to have, you know, a non-vegetarian food or
Right.
eggs for that matter. Some of us are vegan because we love animals and we don't like that they are going through all these atrocities. Uh, and The most important reason for me should be health and wellness, because vegan food is makes you healthy. If you just have plant-based food, I think it's better to use the term plant-based food than vegan, because veganism is something that I feel that people kind of shy away from it a little. That word has been a little, if I can say it crudely, over abused. So I like calling it plant-based food. And plant-based food gives you a very healthy lifestyle. The more of raw foods, the more of plant-based, less processed foods that you eat is something that's always good for your system. Because if I can go a little technical for just a minute,
Yeah.
if you'll allow me, when we look at the food pyramid, we should try to eat food that are, farthest away from our ecosystem. Like when we talk about fishes are like pescatarian diet. It's still good to eat in your system because they are far away from your that human food pyramid.
Right.
And when you talk about animal, uh, animal psychology is a little complicated. The animals eat food, process it. They do have a brain, and so when you eat that food, you are trying to process things. You are trying to, your system is trying to do complicated process. But when you eat plant-based, it's so simple. It's the simplest way. You just pick it up, eat it, and it's simple. In science term, it's simple, clean eating habit. So hence, I think it's best to eat plant-based food. Also, I feel that if you're a nature lover, or if you would like to be one, we can see how nature is now affecting us because we didn't respect it earlier. And we see how the whole the world is resurrecting in its own way. So when we talk about plant-based food, it's the most carbon neutral food that you can eat. The amount of resources taken to produce 1 kg of plant-based food vis-a-vis uh, a meat or milk or anything of that sort is much more. The amount of water used is much more. So to ensure that carbon dioxide balance, the CO2 balance in the nature, I think it's good to go plant-based. I'm not promoting plant-based, people. Please don't take me otherwise. I am just trying to put in facts out in front of you.
Right.
People love meat and they can continue eating it, but it's good to maintain a balance, is what I would say.
So you just mentioned that, firstly you explained what is vegan food, and and you said that it is simple, and probably it gives us that simplicity, that immunity inside. And before I ask you how to make vegan food interesting, maybe you can explain to the viewers few of the choices as vegan food, because I'm sure, let's first talk about the choices, and then maybe let's try and give them a little diversity on the choice, which is basically making it interesting. So, Abhilasha, what can you say? What are the different choices in the form of vegan food that they can indulge in?
I think I can think of a zillion choices. To be honest with you, it's so huge, so diverse. You
So
look
keeping in
around.
mind that we are in Bengal and
Yeah,
seasonal, and so keeping, if
let
you
me break
try
it
to
down.
shortlist your thoughts there, and the times that we are in right now, and so maybe that would shorten your
Yeah, yeah,
thought.
I will. So if I were to put it in a few heads, you talk about nuts and seeds. It's all plant based. It's healthy. It's tasty, and it adds that crunch element to your food as well. We talk about lentils. It adds the proteins to your diet. Lentils and pulses. When we talk about all the grains, we that adds the carbs in your system. And there are so many grains. I'm not even getting into about all the grains. Maybe I will talk a little about it. But then we talk about all the vegetables. Uh, Vegetables also, like the leafy greens, are so good for your all your vitamin B's and everything. When we talk about your root vegetables, the carrots and the sweet potatoes, they are so good for your vitamin A. And when we talk about uh, I mean other vegetables that I think there are different categories of vegetables. They each have their own, all the other greens that we talk about helps you in your immunity health. The lesser you process your food, the better, its nutrients remain intact. So, if I can classify it in for few heads, this is what it is. So I think the options are infinite.
And when you're talking about when we process our food less, but anyway, Indian food, it is on a medium flame and a high flame cooking, and we sort of don't use too much of market processed food. But even if you're talking about the leafy vegetables or the pulses or the cereals, and being the kind of ingredients they are, we definitely use a lot of water. We use a lot of heat. So, what do you have to say to that?
Think, try to use, like I said, what I learned from these chefs abroad is the techniques. So using techniques like steaming over boiling, baking over, frying, things like that will keep the nutrients intact. So those are the things, the way we cook food. I mean, when you go to the I was there. I would like to share a story actually. I was there in this northeastern region of it suddenly struck me. And there they were using all these amazing fresh produce. And just like, there's a process called the blanching. So they just put the things in hot water, they take it out, they put it in cold water, and then the colors of the greens remains intact like no other. And I could just like a cow, I could just munch on those and and just be happy about life because it's so beautiful to see those intact. the greens should be cooked like greens and it should remain green. By the time we keep like making a halwa out of it, like cooking on that high flame, everything is lost.
Yeah,
And
true.
we can only taste the spices when
True.
we cook. We can only taste the spices and not the beautiful produce.
True.
And it's important to maintain that flavor balance is what I feel we need to incorporate in our
I
diet.
think you've given very good tips, because somewhere we don't realize that we can use the Indian flavor in baking. We always associate baking more with Italian or continental food, or blanching more maybe with Oriental, and we don't think much that we can use it in a everyday cooking statistics as well. Because as you just said that you learned the different ways that the different worldwide chefs would cater and target to cooking food. So I think if we concentrate on that a bit, might retain the healthy values bit more of the food. So yes, you did tell us in the broader spectrum the different kinds of vegan that we can touch. But yes, now my question too is, how can we make this interesting? Because people who are prone to having non-veg, or the non-vegan, they are like, being vegan food is so boring. There is no beyond a step, you can't make it very interesting, and every day you are like probably stuck to the same taste buds. So yes, if you could shine some light on that as to how we can make our everyday vegan food interesting.
Uh, for the non-vegetarians, I would say that try to change yourself too soon, too fast. Try to incorporate things in your diet, one after the other. Uh, get rid of the things that you don't like in already in your diet. Remove those from your thing first, and start incorporating more of the vegetables that you like, and the texture. Basically, what you miss in the non-vegetarians, what they miss is that meaty texture. So there are a lot of vegan food like soy, like mushrooms. These are very very nutritious. Plus they have that meaty texture, and you will see that some vegetarians don't eat it for the same reason, because it has a meaty texture. you you understand that some people would eat it because they like the meatiness. Some people will not eat it because they don't like the meatiness, and hence I think it gives people a very nice what do you say, option, that if you want to have that texture, start making your burgers with soy patties, with mushroom patties. It's so healthy. Start using more oh, it's time for the puja at home already.
Not a problem at all.
Yeah. So
We are living
I'm
through
sorry,
the
I'm
time of
so sorry,
working
but
and
there are ringing bells
different
now.
meeting ways. So this is a part of it. So it's perfectly fine. I have to actually hold.
It's so fun.
Suddenly you will see my dog barking. So just, it's fine. वहाँ फिर भी पूजा की घंटियाँ सुनाई दे रही है. यहाँ you will hear my dog barking. All
Yeah,
right. So yes, you were talking about more the texture of the food.
so yeah, that's one thing. The other thing that I would like to say is, meals are not made in the kitchen. For me, meals are made in the market.
Right.
When you go to buy that produce, you see all the local things that are available, all the seasonal things that are available. Go to your local food supplier, and when you see all of those things, you will start thinking of so many recipes, so many things that you can make, so many variety. All these local. When we are in Bengal, we go and see all these pui shag, the lal shag, and this patta, that patta, the kule khada, and you are like, we don't eat these. But once you start eating these, you start feeling like, wow, these are like miracles. These are like hidden gems. These are like things that that everyone should eat.
Yeah.
So I think meals are made in market, and I think once you start visiting markets, you will. Right now we can't, obviously, but that is something that will give you that variety in your life.
So I
in
think
your
it's
food
very
style.
beautifully said that, meals are not made in the kitchen, but meals are actually made in the marketplace where you actually look at the vegetables and you plan the dishes, oh, I can make this with that. I can make that with this. So yes, that's actually, you're absolutely correct. And how beautifully you've said that. So if I have to ask you, Abhilasha, that can you give us a name or vegetables or a few dishes which can be added to our, meals for more for nutrition than for taste, or nutrition and taste?
Uh, I think I should tell you about my routine. I think that will answer that question. So I think start your day with almonds, some Indian gooseberry, the avla, and if you're going to work out, have a pre-workout like dates. It gives you that energy, and have some aloe vera juice. Um, After workout, I mean, I say workout as a part of your diet, okay? Because that is a part of your whole healthy lifestyle. So
Right.
please, anybody who's listening, please make sure that you are doing this balance of not just sitting at home and being the couch potato, but moving yourself a little. Uh, I'm not using any other terms here. Okay. So that's something. Incorporate more fruits in your diet. Have at least your snack should be fruit during day hours. It gives you that that sugar rush that you want, and have some fruits in your diet as a snack. Some healthy snacking option can also be these energy bars, that homemade energy bars with peanuts, dark chocolate, adding some murmuras to it, and instead of having chips and fries, have the fox nuts. They're so tasty, healthy as well. Makhana in Hindi. So have more seeds, nuts in your diet. Like just toast some of these, alsi and all of this, the flaxseed, and instead of having all these, हमारे हिंदी में कहते हैं चाबा बुका, these are very good chaba bukas. You can just like pop it in and like feel like okay, you're munching on something interesting. So that's that. And the other thing that we've been talking about, have plant-based food for better nutrition. uh, use cooking techniques that keep the flavor intact. So if you want to do a midnight munch, have a dark chocolate. Like dark chocolate is for me anything above 55-60%. It might be bitter for you in the beginning, but there are some dark chocolates that are not bitter as
And
well.
I think
So
that's good
start
for
with those.
diabetes also. The people who are diabetic can also indulge in dark chocolate.
Yes, can also indulge in dark chocolates. Know your system. Know that if you are on if you have high cholesterol, that you shouldn't be eating fried food. If you're highly diabetic, you shouldn't be eating a lot of like lot of sugar. Have alternate sugars. I mean, avoid caffeine in your system. I know people will hate me when I say don't have tea and coffee, but I mean, have as less caffeine in your system as possible. Uh, I mean, all these chamomiles and hibiscus and all is so therapeutic. Why don't you shift to those instead? Easily available as well now. The green teas. So that's something that I think you should incorporate in your system. I think, not just physically fit. Mental well-being is also as important for you to have a good lifestyle, for you to not have these hunger pangs. We eat more when we are, when we're going through a breakup, when we're going through this COVID, and we're going through all this, not so good phase in our life. So we start overeating. So that's when you need yoga, meditation, a complete holistic lifestyle
Yes, and
for
I've
you to
seen
be
you
able to.
indulge in this in COVID. So yes, viewers, one person who's actually taking it just not in speech, but even practically is Abhilasha, who has done mantras, she's done meditation. I mean, he has physically done the bit when it comes to rejuvenation, but mentally she has tried her hands at new dimensions of mental strength, especially the Mon Vrat which she took up. So yes, imagine like a modern, young, beautiful chef, globally acclaimed, and trying her hand. I think that is one spirit which we all should always put up, that is trying to learn something new, trying to imbibe and get inspiration from people like you, Abhilasha. And there's so much we talked about vegan food and the ingredients, and I picked up two ingredients there, which was makhana, and one another, which was you said one more ingredient earlier.
Avla. I spoke about
Amla.
avla, aloe vera, almonds,
Right.
dates.
So coming to my next question, which you actually paved the way, which also happens to be one of the important segments that we thought of talking today, was the ingredients, some of the Indian ingredients which we can use in our diet, in our cooking. We are so prone to using, and somehow the Western has ingredients like oreganos and the rosemaries and the basils, have become, has overtaken our kitchen. They have actually hijacked all the Indian ingredients. And I'm so, so grateful that you actually wanted to talk about the ingredients which belongs to India, which are probably glorified outside our country. So yes, Abhilasha, I mean, do tell us about.
Laughing and biting my lips because this is a question that I didn't want to address
No,
first.
you have to.
But I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because it's quite strange that I like my oreganos, the rosemaries, and my daily food is an alio olio. More than dal chawal, I'm an alio olio person. So,
Okay,
so
okay, I'm going to edit that. Viewers, you did not listen to that. You
to
can
each,
edit
to
that
each her own.
out.
See, our taste buds are something like, I think the more I travel, I also, how I give them my Indian turmerics and my Indian spices, I take from them as well, right? So I make things that are theirs, my own, and it's that's the kind of interaction we have, and that's
All
how it
right,
is.
fine. I get it. You don't have to give that
But
that justification. You like your oregano and you like your rosemary, and so do we.
but
But can we
having said
talk
that,
something about the Indian ingredients now for a change, Abhilasha?
well, having said that, I feel that when we talk about all the foreign ingredients, we should also talk about what's locally available.
True.
We
Very
should also talk about what is locally grown.
true.
While we can have our foreign things once in a while, but let's not ignore our jawar, the bajra, the ragi, and the rajgira, the drumsticks, and all of these. Let's not demean these, and let's not give less emphasis on this over couscous and quinoa.
Right.
Right. I mean, if I can make that comparison, I mean, when you want to have a couscous and when you want to have a quinoa, I think you can easily substitute it with a bajra, ragi, rajgira, jawar, and all the beautiful grains that you have in your country.
True.
So when you're making a risotto, instead of making it with arborio rice, you can try making a stew with the red rice and the black rice, which is easily available in our country as well, and it's not white rice. So you have a whole bouquet of Indian ingredients. If I were to go and talk about every state, every region has its own grains, its own spices, its own seasonal produce that we should lay emphasis on, not just for our own health but also to support our farmers, and also not to forget that there are some of these ingredients that might, when we say animals are becoming extinct, ingredients are now becoming extinct because people are not really, it's like for example, something as simple as drumsticks. We
Right.
see an extensive use of it in the sambars
Right.
in down south.
Right.
But when it comes to the beauty of the drumstick, the moringa powder, and the leaves, the moringa leaves, we will see the West incorporating and having all these moringa powders. But what about us? Where are we having it? Why are we not having moringa tea? Why are we drifting away
Younger
towards
generation
tea?
would not even know about the Sajna Data, the drumstick that we are talking about.
Exactly.
They would just wonder what it is, and so we as responsible parents, or I think as the ones who cook at home, or even for our family members, just not white children, we should actually incorporate this local tradition food, because we should be very proud of our heritage and lineage and take it forward.
one more thing that I would like to mention is about oils. Oil is the medium that we all use.
Right.
Why will we, why do we say that olive oil is more healthy? Why do you forget that the sarson ka tel is healthier? The
Right.
cold pressed coconut oil is healthier. It's better. It's nicer. It has a taste of its own and is less expensive. It's
True.
more kifaiti people. So when you talk about ingredients, local ingredients, it's not just that it is because I want to like promote local, vocal, and all of that. It's because it's seasonal, it's affordable, it's convenient, and हाँ बहुत किफायती होता है ये. It's cheaper to eat it. So while we promote all these foreign ingredients and we talk about all of these, we talk about the pungency of wasabi. You should try Kasundi, people. It'll give you that kick.
No, you're absolutely right. And if you talk about the mustard oil, the sarson ka tel, it is so, astonishing to see that some of the households, they don't even like the strong flavor of the sarson ka tel if a vegetable is cooked in it, because they have not been made transparent to it from an early start. They're so used to, with all this processed oil, etc., that now they don't indulge in it. So do you think that this our lifestyle should also change a bit towards being more local and investing more and trying to find about more about local products and trying that inside a kitchen?
I don't see any other way. It is only that way, and only that way that we can go. When you say that there is no other option than to go local, seasonal, and eat local, because we will see that especially during this time, most of us have realized that when we talk about availability of things, how our I mean, just a small example, and I work with a lot of chains and work with a lot of global chains, and they do fabulous work at that. But having said that, when we see that कहते हैं ना जब problems आती है तो परिवार काम आते हैं, दोस्त काम आते हैं. So this is something similar that when you want to eat your food, you have to think local, think about the helping the farmers, think about your local kirana wala, think about the families that you're going to support if you eat those things, and how it will help your own economy in return, how it will help. It's a whole cycle, and if I start explaining that, it'll become an economic discussion. So
True.
let's stick to food discussion, that like have a heart and eat local.
You are so correct, because and there's so many awesome recipes now which is available on the internet or in hard copies, where local ingredients, pulses, vegetables are used. And yes, I think the reach now is so easy for people to get into. It's just the intent which needs to be triggered to try and something more local. Yes, we do want to celebrate the West, but at the same time it's important to also give a chance to us to actually come forward.
Yes, and also make healthier choices. We are very restrictive with our choices. We all know maida, atta, and white rice and sugar. Okay, we don't know that there are so many different kind of flours available in the market. मतलब आटा भी इतने तरीके का होता है. When you talk about white rice, there are so many different kind of rices available: the brown rice, the red rice, the black rice, the forbidden rice, which is so called. They're so robust, so flavorful, so full of vitamins, minerals, nutrients. So make healthier choices locally. Also, there is a wide variety of choices that's available, and uh, go global whenever you want to. But try these, find your taste buds, and then do whatever you like.
Yeah, and it is so awesome, Abhilasha, that a global chef like you is talking about the local ingredients, the vegan food. After having so much of experience on a global platform, you are still trying to promote what is Indian, what is local, what is available, what is reasonable. So I think that's fantastic. And as a person who has attained so much, and so much anyway knowledge and advice you've given to the normal people like us who are into the kitchen and cooking. But what do you have to say to the aspiring chefs who are wanting to be you, or let's say a Ranbir Brar? So what do you have to say to these chefs? What kind of a thought mentality they should try and come forward with, bring a revolution to the food industry? What are your words for them?
Uh, I think I'll just say follow your dreams. Follow your dreams, learn from a guru. We all have our teachers, they are culinary teachers as well. Learn from them. And I have never been to a culinary school. I've been to some to teach actually. I have been to some to share my wisdom, and I have been to some to for these, getting these experiences. But as much as it gives you that direction and but I feel that just follow your passion, follow your dream. Everything else will fall in place. So that's just what I want to say. I did that, and it worked for me. There's no reason why it will not work for you.
And yes, finally, I've been dying to ask you this question, which is, why are all the top chefs in the world men and not women? Or do you think we don't know much about that because of the media, etc.? So yes, why is it so colloquially said that all the top chefs in the world are male? So yes, Abhilasha, please break that stigma.
You want a good answer, or good answer, easy answer, or an honest answer?
A true and an honest answer. That's what I want.
Okay, to give you an honest answer, let's get real. We were in patriarchy. We were, okay, not anymore. We are now shifting from the gears of patriarchy to an equal world. It's a journey wherein both men and women are together in this journey. We can't do without each other. So the men out there, they support us. A lot of the men support us, and there are a lot who don't, who are still patriarchs. They don't. So it's a transition. We'll get there. Having said that, I think my mentor is Asma Said Khan, and she's one of my mentors, and she has this amazing show on Netflix, Chef's Table. I think I would recommend people to go watch it and see that she's a female. Her kitchen has all female staff. None of them are, trained chefs, but they run a fabulous kitchen. They are on the Michelin Guide. And I met Nigella Lawson. I think I'm talking about international celebrity names. I mean, she signed a book for me. She said I had a long name, so she took time to sign it.
Then what does one have to say about my name? I don't know.
So yeah, another you have a few letters extra maybe. So she is a female, and let's just say that I think the best cooks in the world are all females. Okay, the best cooks are our mothers, our grandmothers, our nannies, daddies. They are the best cooks. It's just that they never got a chance to go out there and make money from their food to call themselves professional chefs.
I think I could have not thought of a better answer, Abhilasha. So wise, so true, and so grounded. I think it is so beautifully explained, what you just said, which takes me back to this one awesome cooking competition that took place in BRC. And, we were like a group of 7, 8 people in each segment. And, Abhilasha, the winner was this group where each and every woman in that particular team was plus 60. And they had cuisine which was Indian. Everything was Indian. Over here we are making couscous and we are making this and that. And what they did, everything was local. Everything was Indian. Everything was so simple, but they had that authenticity of that cook inside that they have inside us, inside them. it was remarkable. And I think you're so right, because I can actually associate what you just said right now to that, and which explains that all the awesome cooks in this world are our nannies and daddies and our mothers. And we can't actually avoid that. And that's so, so true.
And it's no surprise that, when you're a mom, you're a good cook. But when you're a grandmom, you're a better cook. Okay. And I think I try to learn from them. Rather, no matter, not just Indian moms and grandmoms. I think whenever I'm traveling, also, I was in Vietnam and there was this old lady. Vietnamese women are really hardworking. Okay, she was around 70 plus, maybe 80 plus. I don't know. She looked younger, probably. She could be 100. I don't know. Okay, and she was like making these big like noodles and making handmade noodles and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, she's making it, and she's a roadside seller. And I saw a long queue in the evening there just to eat what she was making. And I was like, wow, I mean, she's got something in her hand. And the next day I went and sat there like this, like, okay, what is she making? Let me learn this. And and I spent 2 3 hours learning, and wow, my goodness, it was an amazing skill and art. And you could see that she's so engrossed in her work. She's not just cooking
For the heck of it. She was cooking with so much passion. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, there is passion. And when you talk about all the chefs being men, I think all the chefs out there will agree. And when you mentioned Ranveer, I think Ranveer also said this, that while he may be a very good chef, but when it comes to, taste, and when it comes to feeding people with the love and the affection with which a woman serves, I think that is what takes the food to the next level.
That's so
And
rightly said, Abhilash. That's so, so right.
it also reminds me of another story. So when I was in the Hyatt Culinary Challenge, you mentioned Amrita, right? And she was one of the judges, okay, in the finale. And Amrita, actually, I was the only vegetarian contestant in the entire country, okay? From one stage to the other, once I reached the finale, mine was the only vegetarian dish. And I knew I stood no chance to win, because mine was a very simple dish. And she literally picked up the plate. And I don't know, back in those days, there was no, I don't think there was video recording, but I still have those vivid, clear memories of what she said. She says that the simplicity of this dish, of how it is made by somebody who comes from a small town, and somebody who doesn't probably has got, that time I had no exposure. I only got the exposure post MasterChef. Okay. So coming from there, if she is like, if she's showcasing world cuisine, vegetarian on a plate, I think this is a clear winner. And I think there's nothing but tears rolling down my eyes and how emotional we get, right? And another thing is that women cook with emotions. So that's what it is. And there's a beautiful saying, and I would think I would end my talk with that, is that when you educate a man, you educate a man, but when you educate a woman, or you give her the when you educate her, you're educating a whole generation. It was said by Mrs. Young, Brigham Young, and I think there's no better saying than that.
Yeah, like the other day I said that Napoleon also said the same thing, that give me, great mothers make great nation. That's what even Napoleon said. So yes, I totally resonate with what you just said. But yes, Abhilasha, before we wrap up today's show, I have this very interesting question from this viewer. And when we were talking about the vegan food, and when you said that a vegan means eliminating anything that is an animal product or tested on animals out of your life, but especially in your diet, we are, omitting anything to do with animal products. So we're talking about like milk, curd, paneer, chena, everything all together. So this question is, it's very difficult to avoid cow's milk, especially curd. What is your take on it? How does one, replace items like curd and milk and paneer and chena, which is considered to be so protein-some?
So it's a big myth that, that protein myth. And while I was pursuing I'm a vegan nutritionist, by the way. Okay. So while I was pursuing my course, the first question that I asked was, where do I get my proteins from? And they're like, how much protein do you need? That's the counter question that came in. And I was like, I don't know. And they're like, most of the people are eating proteins, extra proteins. You're not like a athlete who needs like, twice the amount of protein in your diet. For an average person, if you weigh 60 kgs, you need zero point 0.8 grams of protein in your diet, which comes to around, say, approximately 54 grams. So for a person to get 54 grams of protein in a day is not difficult in a vegan or vegetarian diet.
Right.
Now, to answer that question, when you talk about curd, is again a challenge that I'm facing myself as well. That I love my curd, I love my cheese, and that's why I said I'm not 100% vegan. But the probiotics, why do we have curd? Because of the probiotics, right? So to add that probiotics in your system, there are other ways to do it. I mean, incorporating chia seeds in your diet is very good. And Besides, when you talk about your chena and all of these things, there are so many cheese that are now vegan. The cashew cheese, it's made with cashew, the base is cashew. So the cashew cheese is such a good alternate to your animal based cheese. Then you go into a farm, you see how the milk is, how the cows are injected to give you that milk. I think you will take a look back and think about it again as to whether you should be drinking that milk, whether you should be feeding the milk to your baby or not. And most of us, without realizing it, and my doctor told me this, so I think I'll blame it on him, that that 80% or 70% of Indian population is lactose intolerant, and they don't even know this.
They don't even know this, yes. And I think the new age nutritionists actually ask you not to not to have milk and milk products, but we are so psychologically trained that दूध से दिन शुरू करो और दूध से ही दिन का अंत करो. Right, imagine. So one is like so helpless, but yes, I think now you have books, you have reads, you have articles, you have Google to find the alternatives and make your own decision one to one as to what you want to indulge in.
I think milk, another thing about milk that I would like to say is there are so many milk substitutes which are available: almond milk, soy milk, oatmeal, coconut milk, and all of these milks are very healthy, protein oriented, energy oriented as well. So I think you can go for these alternate milk options and slowly and steadily transition. Like I said, don't do things overnight or in a day. Transition slowly. So that's something that you can do for your milk options.
That is very rightly said. So
I breathe Amul MasterChef India, right? So I kind of have Amul in my system. Hence, I think problem to transition for me.
No, I think even if I haven't taken part in the Amul MasterChef, it's a transition for the most of us Indians to do without Amul. It's like we are endorsing it actually. But yes, we can be a little more literate about what we are consuming and read about it and make our own choices. So yes, viewers, it is clear that the food business is male dominated because that women are supposed to cook. But according to our societal norms, it doesn't require any extraordinary effort by a woman to cook, as she has been the queen of a kitchen to qualify the bars, which is set by the society. But when it comes to conquering the business game, she has to anyway struggle it, because as even Abhilasha mentioned, that it is the patriarchal community that we belong to. But at the same time, no one can beat women when it comes to serving the food with love, emotion, and pride, and selfless attitude, which I think only we women can have our hand at. And I think so much I learned from you, Abhilasha, today, especially if I have to go back, that we actually plan our meals in the market and not inside a kitchen, and specifically that the importance of so much the local ingredients which are available around us. It's just that we have to be conscious about that. They are available, they are local, they are reasonable, they are affordable, they are good on our palate. And, so once in a while, we must try and help this entire ecosystem by indulging in it. And yes, it's a lineage that we will be passing on to the future generation, which is anyway our responsibility as being Indian. So I think, Abhilasha, being a global ambassador, endorsing so many products, food styling, being a brand consultant, known at a global platform, you are a multifaceted chef. But what I like about you is that you're so Indian to your roots. You are so simple to the explanation that you've just given to the viewers. And I'm sure many of us would be sitting now and actually Googling the alternatives that we can indulge in for better and more distinctive Indian options. As you said, couscous ki jagah ye try kar lo, uske jagah ye try kar lo. So actually one evening and afternoon I'll be spending trying to know more about that. But yes, we would be waiting for some recipes from you actually, which we can indulge in.
I think I am your one-stop solution for all of this that I just mentioned. Just go to my Instagram account or my Facebook account. I think it's all full of recipes and all that I talk about it on a regular basis and not one day.
You must become, yeah, and a regular basis and try and open your own channel, and we can actually become much more acquainted.
I do have a channel. I work with Rajshri Food, and my channel is there on Amazon Prime. The show is called Swadanusar with Abhilasha. So you can go on Amazon Prime and look it up. It's also there on YouTube. If I were to talk about my channel, I think very soon, let the laziness get over.
It's okay, take your time. In the meantime, we would be there on IG and Facebook and, on the Rajshri YouTube channel and trying to locate your recipes and trying our hands at it.
I think Vaijayanti, you would agree that, when you are striving for perfection, sometimes you don't end up doing things. And I think you are one yourself, a perfectionist yourself, so you would be able to relate with this, that sometimes because we're looking at perfection, we kind of don't do it. But now I think I will change and learn to start.
Anything, you are just on the right track, my dear, and you have brought so much of knowledge and so much of culinary awesome experience for everyone. And whatever you have already on board with your work is anyway so exemplary for us to try our hand at. And I wish you all the luck that you grow further. Keep advising us, keep nurturing us with your knowledge. And yes, thank you so much for trying your hand at new things and making it and making it so visible for us that we would want to try our hands at new stuff and grow inward. So yes, Abhilasha, thank you so much for being with me today. I'm sure the viewers also loved hearing you and wish you all the great luck.
Thank you so much, Vaijayanti, for having me over. Thanks, Sonali's Cubo.
Thank you, dear. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Have a fine evening. Take care. Stay at home.